Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
Hold one, arm drag.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Oh my God!
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold two, arm bar.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Dummy.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
Hold three, the moss covered, three-handle family Gradunzo.
Mamma mia!
And now, Unchained.media presents the B Plus Podcast with your host, Greg Unchained.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Number four, armbar.
I will never retire!
I still got 200 more. I got 200 more holes to list.
Good afternoon, B Plus Brotherhood. It is me, your man of mystery, Mr. Mysterious, here for All the Rest, where we talk about all the wrestling news that we can't cover in all of our scheduled programming, because we have a podcast for everything, guys. If you're a fan of Impact, we have a podcast for it. If you're a fan of the WWE Universe, we have 2 podcasts for it. We split that into WWE Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, and the NXT side of things in NXT UK. We've got a Kings of the Sport Universe podcast. We've got a bit of everything, including, of course, my personal favourite, the Aussie Grats podcast, where we talk about all the Australian wrestling scene and the people that are making it a better place for everybody. But for now, let's talk some wrestling news. It has been a weird one this week. I'm not going to lie. It's been a very bizarre wrestling week, and that's saying something, because I've been doing this for a couple months now, and I've never had to outwardly say it before. A little bit of housekeeping, guys, for you guys know that I am the main Facebook contributor on the socials, and I give you guys a nice little bit of birthday news. At the time I'm recording, there's nothing, which is unfortunate, but when we release this episode, it will be Shinsuke Nakamura's 39th birthday, and of course, Corey Graves will be turning 35. So, won't get into all the issues with Corey Graves this week, but Shinsuke Nakamura, former 2-time United States champion, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of reached his peak with WWE. I think it might be time for him to return back to the rising sun and just help take over New Japan over there and some more. I don't know. I feel like WWE haven't been using him too well, which is a shame. But I will move on from that. We've got a lot of news, guys. As always, going to talk MLW, NWA, and AEW, and then just all the weird and wacky news in the wrestling world today. So I'll start with episode 45 of MLW, heralded by the main event of Teddy Hart versus MJF for the middleweight title. I had so much fun with this episode. I'm not going to lie. After a couple weeks of iffy episodes, we had Super Fight and we had episode 44. We still haven't had 42 with the empty arena match. So I don't know what's happening there. Maybe that'll be like an extra special we get maybe in a couple weeks. I don't know. But I wouldn't be upset if they just didn't mention it altogether. This episode had a lot going for it. I'm not going to lie. We started out with Davey Boy on H2TV. It's been about 6, 7 episodes, and it showed that Davey Boy actually has a personality. Who knew? I sound like I'm being harsh, but we haven't really heard him talk in a long time. Not since, I think, when Brian Pillman turned on Kevin Sullivan, like just briefly chats while he was pissed off. So it's really good to see him actually show a personality. It wasn't anything too exciting. It was about him just saying how much he wants to learn the Japanese culture. Like he wants to learn the Japanese language. He loves the culture. They're just talking about this shirt because he got custom made. So it seemed like random stuff. But I think this was just an introductory episode to Davey Boy. I think that was what it was really ultimately about. But it was a nice episode introduction. It was a nice palette opener for that one, to say the least. We had another promo with Selena De La Renta saying that Low Ki will indeed be acting his rematch clause at Intimidation Games. And if you're wondering, if you're going up to me saying, Mysterious, shouldn't War Games be on right about this time? Well, funny you should say that, because MLW sold the rights back to the term War Games back to WWE. So MLW will no longer use the term War Games. They cannot. So WWE have got that back to them. They can use that on their NXT brand. So MLW have got Intimidation Games, which is happening March 2nd. I will run down that card later on in the day. But Selena making sure that Low Ki gets his rematch, and it's going to be in a steel cage as well. Sounds like it's going to be a really great confrontation. And again, I mentioned it last week, better be better than their super fight. Try saying that 5 times, dear me. First match of episode 45, we had Ace Austin versus Rich Swann. You had Swann, had a little quick video hyping him in the corner of the screen before the match begins, saying he's had a bit of a different attitude these past few months, which, yeah, they kind of teased it in his last match, and they really were trying to say that, oh, he's kind of being a bit fake, so you knew the turn was coming. This whole match was basically, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. That's really what it came down to. Ace Austin and Rich Swann for a good 10-15 minutes. It was a really quick match, but it wasn't short as most. Turned out really well. There's a lot of back and forth between these guys, a lot of counters. I think there's about 3 dropkick attempts from both men at the same time before they both sat up. And just, yeah, they were really just going for it, just to show how much athleticism they both have. Ace kind of gets the win out of nowhere with a top rope powerbomb. It's a very odd finish. Like it looked like it might have been a fast count or something. But yeah, afterwards, Swann flipped out. We had Rich Bikini trying to come into the ring while Rich Swann was a little bit unhinged, just to ask him casually, like, how you doing? You okay? You just lost? And he kind of got smacked for his troubles. He got knocked out, and I think he knocked out some of the other MLW employees. I'm not too sure. I am all for a Rich Swann heel turn. Of course, he is the X Division champion over in Impact. He's a very strong talent, and as a heel, I feel like he'll have a lot more personality and be able to really shine with that as we go into the later episodes of MLW, especially with their limited runtime. Good decision there, really happy. The next episode, in his debut, Alexander Hammerstone versus Ariel Dominguez, and this dude is a giant. This guy is jacked. This was a complete squash match. For those of you who don't know, Ariel Dominguez is just this little scrappy fighter. Like, he's got about the same size as Marco Stunt. Ariel did try some stuff, but Ariel no-sold it or blocked pretty much everything. He did a deadlift German suplex. He's basically moving around like a rag doll. They carried Ari around like a child before he did a pump handle fall-away slam. I think he called it like a pendulum slam. That was his big finisher. It looked so seamless. It looked so clean. It was perfect. Ariel, like I said, Ariel did get a little bit of offense in, but this just seemed to piss off Hammerstone, and he just got the win. Called it's not the pendulum engine, the Nightmare engine, which is, I've never seen it before. So especially on a smaller guy, it worked really well. It looked fantastic. We had a quick Mance Warner video hyping his debut next week, and all I can say is, what? I was trying to follow, like, there's a fast talker and then there's Mance Warner. And I can usually follow most fast talkers, but wow, he really went for it. He's got the whole like redneck kind of thing going for him. Like, so we'll see what happens there. But the big thing I want to talk about with this episode is the main event: Teddy Hart versus MJF. I was really worried that coming back from injury and with MJF now being announced to be a part of All Elite Wrestling, if he would still be able to keep his heat, you know? And the fact that, I don't know, Teddy kind of schooled him at Superfight, but nope. MJF got on the mic, and this is the first time as well, I should note, because this is still at the 2300 Arena where they had Superfight. But this is the first time I felt like this, that MLW was truly at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, where they used to hold ECW episodes, because the F-bombs were through the roof. They muted the wrestlers, but for the most part, the fans, raucous of boos and heckling and F-bombs, and it was just amazing. Especially, I don't know whether they might have muted it in past episodes, so I can't say for certain if they were like that throughout the entire time as Philadelphia, but in the MJF match, before he even got on the mic, they just kept saying STFU to him, and he's just like, I haven't even said anything yet. But he was just getting the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. This was the best promo I've seen MJF do. I think this is of course, I think this is like his best opportunity to really show his chops as a talker. I can't remember other episode where he's really been able to shine like this, especially in front of a live crowd. But yeah, after he's just messing with the crowd, he turns his attention to Teddy Hart. He calls him a jailbird and says, come out without the Hart Foundation's help and get ready to be humbled by the fact that I'm better than you and you know it. So the Hart Foundation were not in attendance. They only had their little H2TV episode. But yeah, this was awesome opener to this match. Teddy Hart came out cool as a cucumber, did not give a shit about anything MJF said. Comes out with Mr. Velvet in his hand. He's got his 2 titles strapped around his neck rather than his waist like most double champs do. Casually brings out a fan sign with him. He's got all this stuff in his hand. Casually puts the fan sign down. Casually flips the bird at MJF. Puts Mr. Velvet in the turnbuckle. And then just keeps like jeering for the fans. He keeps like flexing for the fans. That's pretty much it. Like completely no selling MJF and his bullshit. I loved it. In terms of the match, yeah, this was everything you wanted. Like MJF was just completely talking shit non-stop while he was grounding Teddy Hart. Of course, Teddy managed to get his signature offense in. Like he got a couple long blowers, he got a moonsault in there, he got a couple of Canadian destroyers in there. He hit all the high points that he does, including his hammerlock DDT, which I haven't seen in a long time from him. It was beautiful, especially because I think MJF does actually do the hammerlock DDT sometimes. So it was nice to see Teddy Hart actually school him, like, no, asshole, this is how you really do it. In terms of this match, there was even a good little highlight. The ref got knocked down at one stage. MJF was going to sneak out and get a chair, but Teddy hit him with a low blow before he can use it. He's not a face. He's like this tweener in between. He's like, bad comparison, but in the same vein as Becky Lynch and everyone else like that. So Teddy can do that because he's awesome. Teddy used the chair on MJF, like hit him in the throat before he did an electric chair lung blower, corkscrew moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Teddy Hart retains the middleweight championship. I really had a lot of fun with this episode. Start, middle, finish, all strong. Usually it's the end match that makes me say it's a great episode, but this was a fantastic episode and really helped cleanse what had come before. So MLW is back on track. Very happy with that. I will briefly touch on the fact that Casey Lennox, their interviewer, still annoys the hell out of me. So as Teddy Hart's coming backstage, they say, we're going to cross to Casey Lennox for an exclusive interview. So she says the exact same thing, and then she just says, Teddy, can I have a word? Like, she didn't sign up. She didn't make sure that Teddy was able to do the interview. She just did it. She just said, oh yeah, I'm going to do it, without him actually saying it. And he was even about to say, like, sweetheart, I'm exhausted, go away. But of course, that wasn't the real reason we cut to backstage, not because Casey Lennox seems like a little bit incompetent in her job. But that's neither here nor there. But the real news from that backstage segment was Richard Holiday has returned, and he was helping out MJF beat the crap out of Teddy Hart backstage. They were throwing trash cans and everything else. We ended the episode with Teddy Hart saying he thinks his ribs are broken by the actions of Holiday and MJF. We haven't seen Holiday for a good long while. I think the last time was back, I can't remember the episode number, but he faced off against Joey Ryan in a forgettable match. Like, Joey Ryan beat him. This was around about the time that he was feuding with MJF for the middleweight title, and then that kind of just faded away with Joey Ryan's injuries. So yeah, it was a bizarre finish, but I had a lot of fun with this, and I feel like, and we've actually been announced as well, so the card for MLW Intimidation Games, I'll just run through it. So it's been announced Tom Lawler, again, will be facing Low Key for the world title. You've got the Hart Foundation going up against MJF and Richard Holiday. You've got the Lucha Brothers versus Team AAA, which is Taurus and Laredo Kid. LA Park in a death match against Mance Warner. Puma King and Hio de LA Park. You've got a Battle Riot qualifying match, DJZ versus Ace Austin. And for the Fight for the Future, Brian Pillman Jr. versus Alex Hammerstone. This shit looks great, especially on such short notice. Like, we've only got like a couple weeks before Intimidation Games. This shit looks great. I am surprised MJF and Holiday are teaming up. Like, I understand Holiday being like muscle for MJF, so this whole situation really benefits only Holiday because he's a knockoff MJF. It really, but he's not an absolute heat magnet. He's just a I'm a rich asshole kind of character, which is why we probably haven't seen him for months on end because we already have that character. His name is Maxwell J. Friedman. So this really works for Holiday. I don't know, maybe we'll see more personality come out of him, maybe some more segments with Teddy Hart. No, sorry, not with Teddy Hart, with MJF and Holiday to really sell home that they are a credible threat against the team of Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Smith. So next episode, guys, we're going to have Aerostar versus Ray Horus. That will be our main event. We have Rich Swann versus Lance Anawahi. Oh, I should point out, apparently Rich Swann was fined a few $1,000s for striking Rich Piccini. Supposedly suspended, but of course he's got an episode next week, so that really doesn't make sense, but I'm just reporting the facts. We'll have Mance Warner versus Jimmy Uta, so he'll have his debut, and we'll have HUD TV return with Teddy Hart talking about his attack from last week's episode of MLW. Really happy about all the news about MLW. I'm really looking forward to this Monday because they have moved now, and here in Australia we only watch it on Mondays now instead of Sundays. So instead of any of the week, it's going to start the week. I'm going to cover a little bit of Being the Elites. The Elites, guys, a 139 episode, Show Me the Meaning of Being the Elite. And of course, episode 4 of Road to Double or Nothing came out, where the over-budget Battle Royal is returning at Double or Nothing. So that the main point about that is that they haven't announced what's going to happen for the winner. All we know is that it's going to be a, quote, great incentive for the people to actually win it. I'm not quite sure what that will mean, but I'll cut to episode 139. We opened with Kenny Omega. No, not Kenny Omega. We opened with Cody and the Young Bucks sharing a bit of a joke, and just randomly the Yete's there from ECW, the second iteration of ECW in WWE, the Yeti. He just casually follows him. It would have been nice to see him in a Halloween episode. We had MJF and Cody sharing some steaks. The moment Cody walked out the room, he throws the steaks over the ledge. He offers one to Pharaoh the dog and throws it over the ledge. Mega heat. You do not do that to dogs. That is a dick move. Every pet owner who watched that wanted to punch MJF in the face. Like, the guy is, like I said, he's an absolute heat magnet. You cannot fault him for just knowing exactly what to do to just piss off the entire crowd. We had some more footage from the Double or Nothing rally. So we had Hangman Page and his segment with Park. We cut to Kenny Omega backstage before his big reveal, which I was thinking that we'd get through this last week. So we only had Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, the footage that ended the Double or Nothing rally. We didn't actually see any backstage stuff last week, so we're making up for it this week. And we cut to a little segment backstage where, because Omega briefly mentioned saying he only signed the paperwork this morning at the Double or Nothing rally, which is bullshit, but this is for the Beanie Elite. So this is them showing that, oh no, he really did sign this morning. So we cut to backstage where we see Kenny Omega's contract signing. He's going through with Cody and the Young Bucks saying like, okay, what plans do you have for the future of All Elite Wrestling? And they're just like, I mean, we have Double or Nothing. There's this bit that where they just keep repeatedly, the moment someone says Double or Nothing, they cut to the theme song and they just show the Double or Nothing poster on screen. And it's like, but nothing after that. Like, but we have Double or Nothing. Never look back. Never. We just do that shit for a couple of minutes, and Kenny's like, "What the hell, guys? I'm not signing this shit until you sort out what's going on." And then he walks off stage, and then Cody's just like, "So you're gonna sign it?" "Yeah, of course, man. What do you think? I'm not a moron." So he's just being a drama queen. But yeah, I think about 5 or 6 times, just, well, we have Double or Nothing. Never look back. It was a real fun segment. Joey Janela has not recovered from his latest stunt from last week. He's blinded in both eyes. He's trying to do another fireball to mess with him. And I don't know, I think it's his wife. I should have checked before. But his wife's saying that he's leaving him for Scott Steiner. And Scott Steiner's saying, bet you didn't see that shit coming. Oh, wait, you're blind. Ha, 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 ha. And his wife kind of says, by the way, this segment is full of shit. And just walks off with Scott Steiner. Can she be on more episodes? That was really good. I really enjoyed that. Joey Ryan is once again being attacked by some people about All Elite Wrestling, so he still cannot fend for himself. This is going to be a bit. Of course, he was saved by Scorpio Sky. And we ended this episode with Kenny Omega saying like, oh, you guys have been surprising everyone in these independent appearances. You've been helping hype up All Elite Wrestling. I've got the biggest place that you can invade, and it's happening here. Like, I've got tickets for us to invade. They're expecting us. What could it be? They're at a Backstreet Boys concert. We go through the greatest hits of the Backstreet because Backstreet is back. All right, damn it. They will never go away. As long as there is music, they'll be coming back again. They always say this, guys. You should know it by now. It was a really nice little thing to end on. I'm not going to lie. Oh, we had, of course, Christopher Daniels. He finally showed us his tooth. Apparently, he got a grill put in, saying because the dentist wanted to try and make it look like the AEW logo. Scorpio Sky was all for it, and Kazarian's just saying like, "You're an idiot. We have a literal dentist on the roster, Britt Baker. You asshole. You could have just gone to her." But yeah, all of a sudden, and oh, I should mention, the Young Bucks were mentioning that they were talking to each other. Like, we got to see the conversation. They're saying, how's your neck feeling? Saying, it's a little rough. I'm fine. Check your email. I've just sent you a flight. Where could they be going? We find out next week. I don't know. So they're going to keep doing these sporadic appearances. I love it. It's really going good for All Elite Wrestling. I'm not going to lie. No 10 pounds of gold again. Damn it, Billy Corgan, you're killing me. I don't know why. Why is it taking you so long to do this shit? Unfortunately, no NWA news, or no 10 pounds of gold news, but we do have the taping of PJ Black going up against Nick Aldis at the Ring of Honor tapings for the 10 pounds of gold. This was a good match. I actually recommend you guys watch it. I haven't seen PJ Black wrestle since he left WWE. Of course, he was Justin Gabriel. Like, I've seen him on Lucha because I've been catching up with that. But he's completely changed his style. He looks so different. The guy is up there. He's in his late 30s now, which was really surprised me. I thought he was still in his 20s. But this was a really off-the-wall match, yet the Darewolf versus Nick Aldis. A lot of times in this match, though, I feel like it should have been ruled a DQ. There were times where the referee openly saw Nick Aldis cheating. He saw him holding onto the ring ropes. He saw him, like PJ Black did a Eddie Guerrero, where the ref was distracted by Camille. PJ Black threw the steel chair at Nick Aldis. He flopped to the floor. The ref didn't disqualify him. Of course, like, why would you want to disqualify yourself in a championship match when you are the challenger? It means that you don't win the title. But aside from that, it was a really awesome match. It was the decisions by the referee, a little bit sketchy just from growing up with WWE. So maybe it's not commonplace that the Eddie Guerrero spot is always guaranteed a DQ. I always thought it was. But yeah, of course, Aldis retains, which it wasn't a surprise, especially with the news that he will eventually face off against Marty Scurll for the Crockett Cup. And maybe Tim Storm. We still have not received word about that. They just really, I feel like this is going to end the Crockett Cup. So after Nick Aldis defeats Marty Scurll, we'll have Tim Storm come out like, okay, I've thought about it a good long while. Let's do the rematch. Let's finally, and that will be the build-up for the very next NWA event, because we have not had any more news, which sucks. I've been really looking forward to that. But MLW, AEW, NWA, those are all the big stories coming out of there, guys. I will cut to the rest of the wrestling news after word from our sponsors.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
We are all WWE fans here. It's why we're here, listening to this show and spending inordinate amounts of hours consuming, complaining, and just generally eating, sleeping, and breathing professional wrestling. But if you want to take that to the next level, the only place to do it is WrestleMania 35 in the city so nice that they named it twice New York. And our new friends at All Aussie Travelers are going to help you make that happen in the best way possible. They are new to the wrestling travel game, granted, but they have over 15 years experience in sports and event tours between the US and Australia, so you know you're in good hands. They want to offer you an exclusive WrestleMania package, including return flights to the USA, 6 nights at the New Yorker Hotel right next to Times Square. And the thing that sets these packages apart are the VIP suites that AAT have secured for WrestleMania. So that's, of course, the Raw after WrestleMania. So not only are you going to go to the Hall of Fame, not only are you going to go to WrestleMania 35, but for NXT TakeOver, SmackDown Live, and the Raw immediately after WrestleMania that next night, you are going to be in an exclusive VIP suite that is not normally available to the public. But AAT, they got it locked down. They got it waiting for you with your name on it, your own private entrance, your own private toilets and bar, as well as an unparalleled view in the most comfortable seats in the house. You can experience WrestleMania weekend like never before, all at really competitive prices. So head over to All Aussie Travelers on Facebook, hit that like button, send him a message, send an email to Jack, that's JAAK, at allaussie.com.au, and let them know the B Plus sent you.
And we are back, guys. The second half of All the Rest. With the injury list, guys, Andrew Everett is out with a knee injury. He seems to be the only person, of course, he's a former Impact star, Andrew Everett. He announced on social media it's a meniscus injury. We've had a little bit of a quiet one in terms of injuries, but man, the releases. Wow, this is a big one for releases. So not so much for injuries, which is always a good thing, of course. Wish Andrew Everett a speedy recovery. But in terms of releases and returns, this is a big one. Returns for this Monday Raw, this coming Monday Night Raw, there are a couple of big guys coming back. There's a certain person, I don't know if you heard of him, but his name is The Big Dog, Roman Reigns. He's going to be coming out to talk to the crowd and give us an update on his condition, on his health status, I should say, and on his condition, of course, because the condition is cancer, leukemia. This is really good. It's I can imagine, after years of booing the man, I can imagine how big a pop this guy's going to get the moment he walks out. I don't know if he'll walk through the crowd. If he does that, he will be the pop will be through the roof. But he could just walk out casually through through the rampway. I could see that as well, especially if he's still not in the best health. For those of you guys thinking that, oh, he's announcing that he's cured cancer, that he's on the mend, right? He's put it back in remission or anything like that. It's been about 5 months. That's usually not the time frame to get rid of leukemia. So this is just a status. So it's not saying like, oh, I'm better. Like he might say he's on the mend. He might say that, oh, I've been able to sort it out, but we don't know what's going on there. Of course, we wish that we hear some good news, but we'll see what happens there. It will be nice to see Roman Reigns back. And another person who will be coming back, woo! The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, on his 70th birthday. It happens to coincide with Monday Night Raw. This is auspicious timing. This is perfect timing to come back, especially on Monday Night Raw, especially with, gee, what's happening in the world? I don't know. Charlotte Flair is in a feud with Becky Lynch, and she has replaced Becky as Ronda Rousey's opponent for WrestleMania. So this feels like they're going to bring out Ric Flair on his 70th birthday. What do you get the kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing man on his 70th birthday? You give him Becky Lynch, who's going to break his nose. I don't see this going any other way. She's either going to punch him in the face, she's going to break his arm and tell Charlotte, if you don't put me back in that match, or if you don't get out of this spot, I'm going to break your dad's arm. Something to that effect, because of course, guys, we've heard this for years. To be the man, you have to beat the man. And she is going to beat the crap out of Ric Flair. I can call that right now. I would love, especially, it's not on the WWE Network anymore, guys. It was from a Becky Lynch match a couple years ago with Charlotte, before Becky Lynch became the man. But Ric Flair just surprised her by just kissing her, like laying a big wet one on her and distracting Becky Lynch in a match so that Charlotte could retain the championship, I think it was. I would love a callback to that where she forcefully kisses Ric Flair, or she just, again, punches him in the face. Like, I'm really pulling for this to happen, guys. You need to beat the man to be the man, and she will officially be the man this Monday after Raw. Releases, guys, I will mention. So the big ones that have been coming out, of course, the more well-known one is Ty Dillinger. The Perfect 10 announced his release on social media, that he's requested his release from WWE, and it's just been announced today, at the time I'm recording, that WWE have actually allowed him to be released from his contract. So I think that's a big point to mention, because a lot of people were probably thinking that, oh, he's going to be held against his will until 89 days before Double or Nothing the Double or Nothing event in Las Vegas. So he usually has to have 90 days, a 90-day period in his contract, I think it was. So everyone was expecting WWE to just be stubborn, put their foot down, saying, no, you're going to go to All Elite Wrestling. We're not going to release you. But they've just announced it, which tells me that as much as we want to peg WWE as this evil corporation, in some ways they can be, this isn't the case. Like, they are really not going to, especially in like PR wise, they're not going to hold these stars against their will. They aren't this big evil corporation. They make a lot of questionable decisions, which I will definitely get to as we go through this card, which is very bizarre. But yeah, if nothing else, if people make it known that they want to leave, they're going to let them leave. If they're thinking about leaving, they're going to try their hardest to make sure they stay. But if he outwardly announced it, that I want to leave, guys. I've been in developmental for ages. I want to go somewhere that utilizes my talents more. WWE said, yeah, fair enough. We've got all these big stars coming in, and it's going to get harder and harder for all these new guys, the older guys, to really shine through. More releases, guys. The broken one / the woken one, Matt Hardy, has just outwardly said he had 11 days on his contract. Of course, it's probably like 8 or 7 by the time this gets released. So I don't know if he will re-sign with WWE. I think he's kind of trying to make them know, like, guys, my contract, what the hell? And apparently Jeff Hardy as well is close to his contract being up as well. I could see Hardy just taking a break from wrestling for a while, but a side note, the Woken universe in All Elite Wrestling would be amazing. I'm not gonna lie, the amount of he would have so much more creative control. Matt Hardy, I should say. It would fit in with that realm of AEW. Of course, like it would be like more of like a segment piece, like, because Matt Hardy is in his 40s now and getting on in years. I would love to see the broken Woken universe in All Elite Wrestling. Personally, maybe we'll see that. As we'll find out in the next couple of days, of course, if WWE decide, oh shit, we better re-sign Matt Hardy. Some surprising ones: TJP has been announced to be released from WWE. He went on this big Twitter rant a few days ago saying that he thinks that WWE are the best company. He does not want to go to All Elite Wrestling. Like, I think a fan asked, when can we see you in All Elite Wrestling? Well, if it were up to me, never. Saying that I think he thinks WWE are the best, that All Elite Wrestling are second best. And WWE just fired him, or he got released. So he's definitely not going to All Elite Wrestling now after his big Twitter rant. Good job, TJP. You done messed up. Which was a really surprising one. And also, this was a real shocker for me. Arn Anderson, one of the four horsemen. I'm used to saying horsewomen all the times we mention Becky Lynch and Charlotte and Sasha and Bayley. So, of the original four horsemen, apologies guys, Arn Anderson has been released as a producer, which he's been a part of the backstage area of WWE for nearly 20 years at least. The guy has been a workhorse, right? I think Cody did a tweet not too long ago saying, I stole all of his catchphrases and use them on a daily basis. He's essentially responsible for all the current top guys in Golden Circle in WWE, as well as all the young talent. He's not corporate, but that's a compliment, and you can't take wrestlers out of wrestling. As much as I thought Arn Anderson would just forever stay with WWE, with the news that all these guys have been coming in, these new producers, these new backstage guys like Abyss and Davari and the Hurricane, all these guys who have been given backstage roles, Jeff Jarrett, something was going to give. So it sucks. Of course, people should really, if you haven't seen anything, old school episodes of WWF and before that with the great Arn Anderson, check out his Spinebusters. They are like no other wrestler you've ever seen. I thought he would be one of the guys. He's been in Vince's inner circle for a very long time. It's a very bizarre situation, but of course we wish Arn Anderson nothing but the very best. Hopefully, we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, so whatever they may be. So Vince McMahon has lost his right-hand man, and he seems to be arguing with a lot of people, guys. Wow, a lot of these stories are about Vince McMahon, and he might be a little bit cranky about a few decisions that have been happening or reacting to a few things. So the big ones, of course, we mentioned last week that Undertaker would be appearing at StarCast, and he's billed as Mark Calloway, aka The Undertaker. So the veil is dead. The veil of Undertaker being this phenom, dead man, it's gone. And we're wondering, how will Vince McMahon react to that? Well, according to Dave Meltzer, not too well. He's not having a good time with it, especially there are rumors that Undertaker is trying to extort a bit more money out of WWE if he does decide to return for one last match or one last appearance or whatever the case is. And he's kind of on the outs with the boss, which is a shame because Undertaker has been the most iconic WWE figure for nearly 30 years, and it seemed like Vince McMahon and The Undertaker kind of had everything, like they were in agreement with almost everything, and now it's like, well, what do they do with him now? He's still not billed for WrestleMania. Whether they do that now, especially with the news that he's doing StarCast, which is not an All Elite Wrestling event, but it's an All Elite Wrestling adjacent. It's in the same venue. Which, I don't know. it seems like Vince McMahon can hold a grudge. I don't see this resolving itself anytime soon, which is sad because again, I wanted the Undertaker to just end on a high, and it doesn't seem like it seems like his career is going to end on a whimper instead of a bang. But you never know. Maybe they'll figure this out. Another person that Vince McMahon is on the outs with is his son-in-law, the WWE COO, Triple H. They are arguing over the latest batch of NXT call-ups. This week in Raw and SmackDown, you would have noticed that 4 of the biggest NXT stars made their main roster debuts. Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, you had Aleister Black, and you had Ricochet. 4 of the key figures in NXT. Apparently, Triple H is a bit pissed off with Vince McMahon because there was a, quote, communication error, according to Dave Meltzer. And he pretty much just asked, who are the top 4 guys in NXT? Put them on the main roster because, according to him, the main roster is burnt out. And it was supposedly a reaction to the news about The Undertaker not being able to appear. So a retired guy is not going to be a part of WWE for the foreseeable future. And Vince McMahon goes, let's just get some more talent on the roster. So I can totally see this happening with Miss McMahon not being too in the know about what's going on with NXT. I feel like he's reacted to the ratings, which are, as of the time I'm recording, this latest episode of Raw, 5-month high since I think September. So, and the ratings have been going down and down and down. And Raw and SmackDown, the NXT guys like DIY, which did not make sense, but fantastic showings. They were the match of the night for Raw in my mind. I don't know, for Vince McMahon to say that he thinks the roster is burnt out, supposedly according to Dave Meltzer, for him to say that and saying that there is not much stars on the roster is so the lack of self-awareness is mind-boggling to me. The fact that you've got so many stars and the problem is only going to get worse with all these new call-ups and more people appearing at the Performance Center and more people getting lost in the shuffle. It's an endless cycle, but to say that there's no stars, that you have not built up any stars, and to rectify the issue, you throw NXT in chaos by putting these 4 guys on the main roster. I don't know how it's going to work out, and I think apparently this is kind of a reaction where Vince McMahon wanted to try and prove Triple H wrong, saying that these NXT guys can't hang with the main roster. If they do, great. If not, I told you so. That's the rumor anyway. Which, as much like we just said before, WWE aren't an evil corporation, but at the same time, Vince McMahon can show he's a little out of touch in a lot of decisions that he makes, and a lot of questionable decisions, including apparently this one kind of floored me. They want to make Lacey Evans one of the top 3 people in the women's division. So when Ronda Rousey does leave WWE, whenever that is, of course, maybe it will be around WrestleMania 35. We don't know. But if that happens, they want to try and make Lacey Evans one of the big 3 of the women's division because they see her as a big crossover star because of her past and background, being a former Marine, a mother, while also being a great athlete. She has displayed none of those talents since coming onto the main roster. She has not basically said a word. She had this weird segment with Heavy Machinery. She appeared in a Mandy Rose match, out of nowhere. They don't know what to do with her, guys. And this is the woman who's apparently going to proposed. Yeah, sorry, go. And this is the woman who is apparently going to be facing off against Asuka at WrestleMania 35 for the SmackDown Women's Championship. It could be Mandy Rose. It could be someone else, but this just feels so off balance to me. This could be a total swerve and they pick someone else. But if this is true, man, this really shows how out of their depth that WWE can be, that Vince McMahon is, if he really believes that Lacey Evans is going to be on that same level as Asuka. Like, if they want to build up stars, for God's sakes, build up Asuka again. Like, did they forget the undefeated streak? Did they forget that she can literally break any woman on the roster in two? Like, there's a reason, like, they gave her the big win over Becky Lynch at Royal Rumble before Becky won the Royal Rumble. I don't know. A lot of this seems off to me, guys. The decisions about WWE are kind of in the air. This is a very WWE heavy episode of All the Rest because we've got some rumors about what the WrestleMania card is going to be looking like, where apparently Kofi Kingston's WrestleMania opponent has been revealed. And is it Daniel Bryan? Not necessarily. The big rumor is that it's going to be Kofi Kingston versus Big E at WrestleMania 35, which, if any of you watched this past SmackDown, the seeds were kind of there because it was very you're my friend, I love you, my friend, very lovey-dovey. And this could really sow the seeds for the New Day finally splitting up. And this is just in the past couple of weeks, Kofi Kingston has just exploded off the scene. He wasn't meant to be in this position because of Mustafa Ali being sidelined with injury. And then all of a sudden, Kofi Kingston has just grabbed the story by the horns and he's not letting go. So apparently, they want to make that match happen. I can totally imagine the heat where at Fastlane, Kofi's inches away from victory and Big E costs him the match. The level of heat would be unreal. It's like, I love Big E as this really weird babyface, and especially New Day are one of the top merch selling groups in WWE today. So to separate them is a big deal if they do decide to do this. But apparently, if Kofi's not going to face Daniel Bryan, who is he's going to face? Well, the news is that a potential returning superstar will be his opponent at WrestleMania 35. So they've been named the callers like Batista, John Cena, Bray Wyatt, Sami Zayn, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker. None of these really fit, but the one that kind of stuck out in my mind, Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens is, like, if you've seen the promos for him, he's being billed as just your everyman. The guy who loves just going to the movies and being with his family, and he's just all for just the Dusty Road story. So I can see that again, like Daniel Bryan, who is all about fighting against consumerism, going up against the everyman Kevin Owens. That story would be perfect. But according to Dave Meltzer, according to Wrestling Observer, they say the situation is fluid. So nothing is set in stone. Of course, this is all speculation. This could still happen. It could not happen. But I think the term fluid is interesting because no one expected Kofi Kingston to really excel in this position the way that he has, because he has just, boom, out of the gates, just really grabbed this story by the horns, as I mentioned before. Couple other news card announcements there. A couple other matches that we've potentially going to see at WrestleMania 35. Of course, Kurt Angle has been teasing his retirement these past couple weeks on Raw, and they're thinking like, oh, he might have a retirement match at WrestleMania. Who could retire him? Big Match John Cena. He has not had a match yet I lie. He has had a match in 2019. He returned with Becky Lynch, but he's doing his movie career. He's got a lot of things going for him. I could see him coming back for WrestleMania. End Kurt Angle's career how John Cena started. Ruthless aggression. Punch in the face. That would be a perfect end to Kurt Angle's era. If this is the case, of course, it'll be very sad. And if WWE are not going to make amends with Undertaker and give him a WrestleMania match for this year, then yeah, I would love to see Kurt Angle make his match a big thing. We don't know if Triple H is going to have his match at WrestleMania either, which is why not bring in Kurt Angle, bring in John Cena, bring back Kevin Owens, make this card something truly special. Like, make Kofi Kingston the champion at WrestleMania. I don't know. That's just me That's my dreams, you know. We do have a couple more WWE stories before I move on to other things. WWE are apparently redesigning their tag belts. So the penny belt hopefully is going to be over. Like I'm not a fan of the SmackDown and Raw silver penny championship designs. I think they are not the best. Of course, they're not the jam belt that is the Universal Championship. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, according to Heel by Nature, they are hoping to redesign their tag team belts after going to the trouble of making women's tag team belts and thinking that we might make a similar design to the women's ones. But I don't know. Maybe the Revival have been saying they want to have the original tag belts back. And if they can't get I don't think they'll get those belts back, but something akin to it, you know? Maybe something very similar to the tag titles of old, but red or blue for Raw or SmackDown, whatever you want to do. I feel like we're not going to avoid the coloring of the championship, but the design, that could be saved. That could be saved personally. It would really feed into the Revival's gimmick, and especially after they lost to DIY on Raw, they need something to go with it. They need a little bit of more story to help them out. Moving on from WWE news, my god, a very heavy episode of WWE news and all the rest. Lucha Underground, apparently, according to one of the executive producers, he thinks that Lucha Underground will not have the season 5. In a Twitter Q&A, he answered that he feels like the show is dead, as much as he wants to, of course, continue on with season 5, especially with the news about King Cuerno, or Captain Phantasma. I can't remember his real name, but King Cuerno and Evilise, they are suing Lucha Underground for their contract situations. I feel like this is kind of all but confirmed that Lucha Underground are not going to have a season 5, which is unfortunate, and it sucks that we have these news that has kind of dampened the legacy of Lucha Underground as being this game-changing concept for the wrestling industry. I don't know. Hopefully, with any luck, it's not dead, and Lucha Underground are going to come to an understanding. Whether we see season 5 in like a couple years from now, after they've sorted their shit out, I would still love to see it. I would still love to see how we follow up, because I hate cliffhangers. Dick move, Lucha. Dick move. Of course, we want to see more. We'll go to the land of the rising sun, where Kota Ibushi has kind of outly said in an interview with Shupro that he's not going to All Elite Wrestling, that he wants to stay with New Japan, because he kind of said in there if he decided to move over to AEW, that his career would be dead, that he wouldn't be able to advance any more than he already has, and that they wouldn't really have anything for him to do, which I never really thought about, but I can totally see that being the case, because as much as we want the Golden Elite, the Golden Lovers, to stay together, like apparently Ibushi and Omega haven't talked to each other in a good few months. I can see him staying with New Japan, becoming a big star once again, maybe like battling his way through the Bullet Club, and when he's finally become champion again, then All Elite Wrestling organize a working relationship with New Japan again, and then of course we will see the Golden Lovers reunite and their history will be rekindled. I don't know. It makes sense to me. Of course, it's a sad news, but at the same time, we wish Kota Ibushi all the best, rising up the card and becoming one of the big juggernauts in New Japan's heavyweight division. Who knows? That's just me spitballing there. Couple other quick news, guys, before we end the show. The Crash have announced that they put up a photo on their social media with their logo mixed with CMML's, Ring of Honor, and New Japan's. So it looks like they're going to organize a working relationship with those companies in the future. God, yes. That would be fantastic. Like another promotion to talk about in our Kings of the Sport Universe podcast. Yes, please. Check out our episodes, guys. Listen to them. You won't regret it. And of course, we have the G1 Supercard is going to be streamed by New Japan and Ring of Honor at Madison Square Garden. Doesn't sound like a big thing, but I'll let you guys know. So WWE have not streamed a live event of at Madison Square Garden for a long time because Madison Square Garden is kind of synonymous with wrestling now, and their fee for doing stuff live is way up. They have really increased the price over the years. So for New Japan and Ring of Honor to be streaming live out of Madison Square Garden, that's a big deal. Of course, it's on their subscription service as well as through Fight TV. Maybe New Japan and Ring of Honor came to a discount offer with Madison Square Garden because they don't have WWE to support them at their venue. Of course, they have like big pay-per-view events there every now and then, but in terms of a Raw or a SmackDown, you're never going to see one for the foreseeable future anyway at Madison Square Garden until they come to a better understanding about price, because WWE wants to make the monies. So the G1 Supercard, of course, will be headlined by Switchblade Jay White, defending his newly minted IWGP Heavyweight Championship against the winner of the 2019 New Japan Cup. I just mentioned Ibushi. That would be really great. So Ring of Honor is currently in Japan for the annual Honor Rising tour. It's all connected, guys. It's all connected. Now, I'm going to end this episode. Usually I have a bit of a weird fluff piece to end on, guys, and oh boy, you've all heard about this one. There's a Hulk Hogan biopic apparently going to be put onto Netflix, and the man to star as the Hulkster, Chris Hemsworth. So the God of Thunder wants to become the Hulkster, not the Incredible Hulk, but Hulk Hogan. This news has been all over the place on social media. It's gone viral. Just how the hell did this happen? Like, according to the Hollywood Reporter, this will be focusing on the origins of Hulk Hogan. So we're not going to touch on his reputation over the past few years, how he's kind of muddled things up for himself with the sex tape and the racist allegations, and like pick something, pick anything about why they're not going to touch on his stuff now. So they're going to focus on the early 80s era when Hulkamania really kicked off. By the sounds of it, it's going to be directed by Todd Phillips, who directed the Hangover trilogy, but also is responsible for the upcoming Joker movie that's coming out with Joaquin Phoenix. And we have Hemsworth, Phillips, Bradley Cooper, of course, the voice of Rocket Raccoon in Marvel, and the latest director from A Star is Born, like newly minted debuting director. We've got Michael Sugar and Eric Bischoff. Eric goddamn Bischoff. These guys are all going to be producers on this film, and the real Hulkster is going to be serving as a consultant, quote unquote, and executive producer. This sounds interesting. Like, no one would have picked this movie to ever happen, ever. But with the news that Fighting With My Family is getting like all these rave reviews, I can see more wrestling movies being made, and I feel like this is kind of like riding the hype train of wrestling movies, like wrestling biopics, I should say. If done right, there's a lot of amazing talent in here. Todd Phillips, Bradley Cooper, Chris Hemsworth. He's done a lot of comedies, but he has done a couple biopics. He's done a couple serious dramas. I think my favorite with him is Rush, back in 2013 with Daniel Bruhl. Like, go check it out, guys, if you haven't seen it. But yeah, Chris Hemsworth as an actor, of course, I prefer him as the God of Thunder. But he, if done right, if they really make this a serious piece, like, it can't, of course, Hulk Hogan is a consultant, so I don't know how accurate they're going to make it. I think the fact that Eric Bischoff is one of the producers, he'll kind of cut through Hulk Hogan's bullshit. And Rusev has gone on to Twitter saying that, cast me as one of the foreign heels, guys. And, cast me as the Iron Sheik. Like, someone, brother. Give me a hand, brother. Rusev's Twitter game is on point, especially with his new YouTube channel that he's relaunched now that he's no longer on Total Divas. That's on a tangent. But the Hulkster, back to the Hulkster. supposedly this is going to be done on Netflix. They're close to quote finalizing a deal. If this is not going to be a big cinematic release, and this is going to be on Netflix, if done right, this could be a very good off-kilter movie. And of course, I don't see Chris Hemsworth as Hulk Hogan yet. So again, we mentioned that they're not going to touch on the new stuff in the saga that is Hulk Hogan, but maybe they could talk about the backstage politics in Hulkamania. They could maybe cover the steroid trial in the early 90s. Depending on how they do it, especially, I should mention, Bradley Cooper is in this, but apparently he was initially meant to be cast as Vince McMahon in a biopic a couple years ago. So if they kind of keep him on, maybe he's going to play Vince McMahon, which, okay, Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan, they are going to be goddamn lucky if they have Chris Hemsworth and Bradley Cooper playing them in a movie. Get someone who does not look anything like them to be playing them. Some Hollywood pretty boys. I say that, but at the same time, Chris Hemsworth is a beloved Aussie ambassador, and I love you, Mr. Hemsworth. I don't know. This kind of floored me, guys. Let us know how you felt about it. I'm still reeling from this news. It's very bizarre to me. If done right, I will preface this. If done right, it can be really good. But I don't know, if they lean more towards the comedic side of this could be very bad. I don't think this would be Ready to Rumble bad, guys, but at the same time, it might have the potential to be kind of bad if they don't really take the time to craft this very, very carefully. So we will see what happens. I think that's all the time we've got now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what we do here, please leave us a comment and please leave us a 5-star review. It makes a difference because we love to hear from you guys. If you want to follow me on the socials, I am at Mr. Mysterious with a 1 and 7 I. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Hit me up, guys. If you want to follow our super producer, Greg, you can follow him at Greg Unchained on Twitter or at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. If you want to follow us collectively, we are at the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling just wouldn't fit, and the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. And just a reminder, guys, we do have our Patreon. Any amounts that you could donate or contribute would be amazing. We are devoted to be trying to craft bigger and better stuff for you guys, more content, more interviews, everything. We want to make this channel grow, and we want you guys to grow with us. But we'll be the premier news site for Australian wrestling and your overseas news. We want to be that channel, guys. So from all of us here at the B Plus and everywhere else, like, share, subscribe, hit that 5-star review, and thank you so much for listening, guys. I've been Mr. Mysterious, and I'll see you later.
Hold one. Arm drag.
You're not good at this. Get out. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You just made the list.
Sorry, no speak English.
Dummy. Goodbye and good night. Hold 2. Arm bar.
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
It's still real to me, damn it. Dummy. Hold 3. The moss covered. 3-handle family Granunzo.